Wow. Thank you so much. Well, I haven't even spoken yet, and a round of applause. Okay. So, my name is Paulina Polak. I'm a migrant. I am Polish, and I live in the UK. I am enthusiast of talent and progression, and I'm a founder of Onpartu. And my there we go. We're running ahead. How do I go back? There we go. My vision and Onpartu's vision is that foreign-born women fulfill their potential and really fuel growth of the economy and enrich their communities. And it's easier said than done, and that's the reality. Because a person that is lonely, a person that is extremely tired, a person that doesn't have a support system on the ground, simply does not have the time and the stamina, the energy to introduce the best practice. And that's what we did on Onpartu. We basically took care of the elements that that person wouldn't be able to think of. And the Onpartu was, simply speaking, designed with underemployed migrant women in mind. So let me introduce you to a person, because I feel that we always connect with individuals far more. So one of our very first participants was a lady called Monica. Monica is a cartographer, so she works with maps. It's a very niche, technical profession. So when she came to the UK, she was, simply speaking, overwhelmed. She was lonely. She was unaware of where to search for jobs. She didn't have any contacts on the ground. She worked super long hours to the extent that her feet were swollen. And when she started the program, she said she physically doesn't know whether she has the energy to be able to continue. So in addition to that, her confidence was going down, because when things are not working out, we start to question whether we've done the right thing, whether we're doing the right thing. And she did not know whether she wanted to go back to her career and whether she could go back to her career. And on top of that, as it goes with life, she really struggled with her relationship, okay? Because our partners are one of the fundamental, people who can really either make us or break us. And in her case, that wasn't there, that support that she needed the most. Maybe I should give up on the slides altogether. Is that? Can you click maybe? So there are 1.3 million Central and Eastern Europeans in the UK. 42% of them are women. 40% of these women are highly educated or educated to the degree level. And 40% of them are, unfortunately, in low-paid jobs that are not aligned with their education and experience. So there are at least 90,000 degree-educated women from CEE alone, and who are underemployed, underpaid, and overworked. And on average, a person makes 2 to 3 attempts before they give up their hope. And unfortunately, it's a real big challenge, because thank you. They are trapped currently in these low-paid jobs because they don't have a very good understanding of how the market works. And if I were to be very specific, for example, in the country that I come from, in Poland, I'm not sure how it works in Turkey, maybe it's going to be very similar. We speak normally about our responsibilities when we talk about our jobs and when we include things on the CV. In the Anglo-Saxon countries, in the UK, we speak about achievements. We need to show that we actually brought value. It didn't really matter whether we were asked to do the following. Did you actually do it? And you are expected to speak proudly about your achievements, and even more in numerical terms, because people believe numbers. And if you're not able to put a value on, an employer wants to make sure that you're going to bring more value to him or her, then you're going to cost them. And in the country that I come from, in Poland, we're very perceived to be very nice and very polite, and we would not dare to say that we actually achieved things and we made a big difference. And that's a really big fundamental cultural difference that people are not aware of when they move countries. And these differences, well, they're endless. But the things that we identified, so the job market awareness, lack of networks, and lack of confidence are the three main things that we really try to understand and tackle through the problem. And in addition to that, I wanted to say that there is a problem with the recruitment system. The traditional recruitment model does not work. Recruiters are rewarded by placing people and taking the minimal risk, because they want quick transactions and they want to flip candidates. They don't have the time to understand someone's CV. They don't have the time to, there is a bias. So if a surname is foreign sounding, if they don't know which employer you worked for, if the education that your degree comes from a different university, that's all foreign to them, and that's higher risk to them. And they're very money driven. And these are the people who are, this middlemen, are making or breaking someone's career opportunities. So if employers are not being given a choice to hear from these people because of the recruiters, well, then we know that something is fundamentally wrong with the system. And we do know that there is an extremely there is a business case for the government, for the private and public sector to work with these women. Because if you're missing talent, you're missing taxes, there is a lower economic output, we know right away that there is potentially a higher healthcare cost. And we spoke about it, like listening to the panel, that's exactly it. You're stressed, you're anxious, you're depressed. There is a higher likelihood of addiction as well. And in addition to that, there is the social care cost, because actually all of these lead potentially to a higher divorce rate, and that's what research confirms. So families are falling apart, and the next generation is worse off than their parents were upon their arrival sometimes. So, well, we know that something needs to be done. And that's why we developed the program. The current program that we run consists of 5 components: face-to-face training and online training, mentoring on bi-weekly basis, inspirational speakers, so people who they can relate to, so people who've been on a similar journey themselves, peer-to-peer. There is something within this community and the importance of sharing and learning, no matter what you do in your life. And we always underappreciate but value it the most upon completion of any degree, any program. And that's what we consistently keep on hearing from the participants of the program. And then finally, we know that, as the discussion being taken place here, the education is one element, the well-being is another, and then the actual jobs, the opportunities to employment, that's another part of the equation. So we take the participants of over the 5 months period on a journey and make them build on their strengths and being able to articulate their strengths and build up their confidence through doing. And when they get to the point where they're actually able to say what it is that they want to build on, and we're very keen on encouraging them to build on the previous careers they had in a new environment, then we map out the sort of networks for them and create opportunities to speak to employers. While it is very important from our perspective that these people have a choice but they also have opportunities that they are not given at the moment. Because if someone is, has a career gap of 5 years, professional career gap, and has these survival jobs, they are simply not being considered. So, speaking about how we derived to where we are today, well, we developed this program because we felt that we really understand these women and we really could relate to their journey because we've been on that journey ourselves. So I moved out of Poland when I was 16 years old. I moved to Germany first and then the UK for educational purposes. And while I was at university studying economics, during the day I studied about unemployment and underemployment and inequality and everything else that was really, fascinating. And at nighttime, I worked in bars and restaurants, and I could actually see live what I was studying about. And there were so many incredible people who were highly educated, and they were simply, I always feel that you have to be extremely courageous to move countries in the first place. And normally, most of the economic, migrants, they are very well educated. But unfortunately, something happens that blocks them. There are the barriers, and some people make it, and the rest of them doesn't. And statistically, we know that a lot depends on the strength of your network. Wow, okay. So a lot depends on the strength of your network. And the women who knew before arriving, an accountant who worked for PwC, KPMG, was highly likely to get a job with a corporate. An accountant who got a job, an accountant who had a friend working as a waitress would most likely get a job as a waitress. So that's the power of networks. So never ever underestimate your network. So I moved on. I worked I started off my career in investment banking and then consultancy, and I always knew that I wanted to work on something that is really truly mission and values driven. So I kind of moved away from these organizations, and then 3 years ago, while working full-time for a corporate with a sustainable mission, I started to build my social enterprise. So carrying on 2 jobs at the same time, highly challenging, but possible. If you have an incredible team around you that does as much as you do or even more and complements your skill set. So I wanted to speak about the mentors and people that really truly make it happen. So we have about 40 people who are mentors, trainers, inspirational speakers, and people who support women like Monica. They have experience, they have network, they're critical friend, people who can really honestly tell them, give them feedback that normally a recruiter or an employer wouldn't dare because of political correctness or whatever else. They try to understand the story, and they really try together understand what options are available. And in Monica's case, it was super powerful because that allowed her to move forward, and that's exactly the same. It worked in a very similar manner with other ladies who have PhDs and MBAs, and they've got ACCA qualifications, so they're accountants, but work as nannies and cleaners and baristas. So completely, not aligned with what they should be doing. I think we need to speed up, unfortunately. Okay, so what are the key social outcomes we're interested in? We're interested in improved job search skills, increased confidence level, increased clarity on career direction and plan, and expanded support networks and better matched jobs. So these are the sort of the key outcomes that we after. And these are the results to date that we have achieved. And I think it's really important to highlight that change does not happen overnight. And you have to be very realistic. We're working with humans. And things do happen. And, we work with people change, their circumstances change. We work with mothers. They very often, up and joining the program, they're unaware of certain things they should consider, such as childcare. Because it's all great that you want to go back to work, but what's going to happen if you don't have a support network on the ground? Who's going to look after your kid? Are you going to be able to make enough money to pay for childcare? Unfortunately, childcare in the UK does not work at that very early stage and is extremely expensive. So 81% of the ladies were more suitably employed within 12 months of completion of the program. Their networks grew, and we're after professional and personal development. Thank you. So here are some of the participants of the program. And I think it's really critical to just be aware of what is important to them and develop. Maybe I just want to mention here that the program was co-developed with the women. So despite us thinking that, well, we were on the journey, we understand, at every stage of the way, we co-develop and we get together with these ladies and we gather their input and gather best practice. And, well, it's really dark, but this is actually Monica at her work. So if you wanted to understand the impact, so Monica completed the program, and then within 3 months of completing the program, she not only quit her relationship, but she quit her job as a waitress. And she moved out of London to a city outside because that's where these jobs actually were, that she specializes in that field. And these days, she acts as a role model, a job connector, and a speaker. And these are exactly, that's what we want to cultivate within that community. It's not about someone simply going through the program and then not having a chance to learn, grow, and contribute and continue. And I think this is the beauty of this program here as well, because it gives you a chance to create something, but also continue to give back, learn, and inspire. So in terms of where we are, our objective is to work with 500 women through our core program alone, but from next year onwards, we're introducing independent modules as well. So the key things as job search and confidence building and career planning that can be delivered on independent basis. And from next year onwards, we concentrate on the specific skill set, and in this particular case, it's project management, because we've realized that there is one thing that unites all these women, despite having very different backgrounds, someone being an engineer, someone being a lawyer, they all need to be able to project manage and project coordinate. And now I wanted to just bring to your attention, and I need to ask organizers. So I have 6 slides, and it's a choice. Do we have the time for that or not, of the other organizations? Yeah? Okay, so I wanted to introduce you into a map that tries to mark all the female-run social enterprises or social founders. You can find it on the Ogunte site. It's an organization which acts as a basically advisory consultancy supporting women. And you can see that in London, in the UK, there's an epicenter. There's a little bit of action happening in Turkey. And I believe there's far more action happening that has been marked. It's a European-wide platform, so please do use it and sign up. So it's just a shout out for Ogunte. But speaking about examples, so because we speak here about the economic empowerment and well-being and also education, there are some examples which I wanted to share with you in order to kind of give you an idea for what's happening out there in the wider world. So this particular organization supports mothers returning to work on a flexible basis. So they believe that at the moment there is a lack of opportunities for flexible work, and women are simply stuck at home or are underemployed, so take jobs below their education experience level, just because there is lack of opportunities. And they use technology, and they specifically target women who worked in PR and marketing, who have the skill set already and need a little bit of a booster. And it's still working about upskilling and confidence building and creating a community of women who go through the same at a given point in time. Okay, the pictures are missing, but yeah, so this is a snapshot of a website called Very Good Boss. It's the US-based organization which is expanding really fast. The idea is to create a safe space for women to learn more about employers. So women give honest feedback, and they're able to really share not only about the benefits that a company gives to mothers or what sort of like progression there is in place, but also, you know, what they've learned and shared, and it's an open source platform. And what it really tries to achieve is, and what's really inspirational, is that they believe by scoring and ranking, they will change the way the employers operate. So it's not only beneficial to the ladies, but also really activates and forces the employers to be perceived that they are women-friendly employers. Oh my goodness, this is, yeah. Okay, so this is another UK-based organization that supports young girls and teenagers. They start as early as age of 5. When it comes to education and when it comes to bringing more women into the science, technology, engineering, and math, and that's the sort of the abbreviation that what it stands for, which is written here, but yeah, they believe that you have to really start to expose them to role models very early on in order to be effective. And you do it by fun, by, you know, by organizing hackathons, by giving them an opportunity to design, to play, and to eat and have fun. Because, you know, if the more serious you make it, the less likely they are to engage, right? So it's appropriate for the age group. And they create mentoring opportunities as well. So, and the way the model works, it's fully dependent on sponsorship of corporates. And that's another thing I wanted to mention, that, yeah, how they work financially, but I think we need to move on. That's another great organization, which is the most established from them all, over 40 years on the ground. And what's beautiful about this one, originating from India and in over 75 countries right now, but what they truly do, they train individuals, especially women, and build on the knowledge that the local community already has. So it's very much a bottom-up approach. It's not us coming in and telling you how to do things. It's like you tell us how you do things, and we work together, and we give you the technology, and we make it sustainable and long-lasting. And so the college element is one of the main things. The vision was to create a college that they will be able to train you know, people who make the under $1 per day, but it's designed for them, by them, and that makes this huge difference. And they work with, they train solar panel installers, accountants, you know, the actual spread is pretty impressive, but it's very basic stuff. It started with a very basic stuff, and that's what they grew from. And it's a charity. It's not a social enterprise. This one is a fantastic German organization that tries to address 1 billion women that currently are excluded from education and work opportunities because of the period. And not because of the period, but because lack of sanitary goods, the affordable sanitary goods in the market. So what they created is this little reusable cap, which you can see over there, which lasts up to 10 years. And the model, the way it works, they basically sell these anyone can purchase them in Europe. It's 1 for 1. If you buy one, they give away one. They also created a model in order for these ladies in Africa to be able to sell them, yet they're still not affordable. So they kind of crowdfund, and also in addition to that, what they do, I lost the word now. Yeah, they crowdfund. So super successful, growing fast, and really inspirational in the mission. And it's, it's a very inspiring social enterprise. And this one is from taking care, again, about its well-being related. Mavin, it is a platform, and the way they see it, it's a complementary service to visits to a doctor. So we know that visits to the doctor are getting more expensive, and they're time-consuming. And if you're a woman, a mother especially, you're very limited in terms of your time. So what they try to do, they try to utilize technology in order to create opportunities for ladies to have on-the-spot, through a phone, appointment with a doctor, with a nurse. It's important to say it's not meant to be replace doctors altogether. The idea is to kind of give an advice, a suggestion, when the matter is not very urgent. And it may be something around birth control, for example, you know, not life-critical matters. It's growing really fast. The whole healthcare tech is growing incredibly fast. They start, I believe they charge from $13 for 10 minutes up to like $30-something from a nurse to a doctor. So it's really affordable considering the market that they're targeting. And yep, the idea is really to make it easier for women and make it more affordable for them as well, especially people who are not on the insurance. So just to wrap up, speaking about my journey and speaking about also the journey of the participants of our program, because I think it's really relevant to all of us. Planning is important, but execution is critical. So don't spend too much time on planning if you're never going to execute, or researching, because we're kind of good at that part, but then, you know, we have a barrier to move forward. So just start doing things. Modify as you move along. You know, we keep on modifying all the time, and it's not about big tweaks, it's about small tweaks that make a big difference. Use your network, you know, create like these sort of events, these sort of organizations make things happen. And each of you has a completely different skill set, and really reach out and rely on people, and only you're gonna get things if you ask. And don't be shy. And I think we as women especially, I know that, you know, we have a lot of men in the room, but I think sometimes we simply don't dare to ask. And if we can start with this one, I think a lot can change and a lot can happen. And yeah, I wish you all the very best. Thank you.